Lagos, the most populous city in Nigeria and the second largest city in Africa after Kinshasa of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Lagos has a population of over 14 million people as of 2021 within the city proper, and a metropolitan area with a total population of over 21 million, making it the second largest metropolitan area in Africa after Cairo. Lagos is famous throughout Africa for its music scene. It has a vibrant nightlife that has given birth to a variety of music styles such as Nigerian hip-hop, highlife, juju, fuji, and Afrobeat. Lagos is also the center of the Nigerian movie industry, often referred to as Nollywood, which is second largest in the world after India's Bollywood. But perhaps what makes Lagos most significant when it comes to taxation is that it remains the major economic focal point in Nigeria, generating around 10% of the country's GDP. Most commercial and financial business is carried out in the central business district situated on the island. This is also where most of the country's commercial banks and financial institutions and major corporations are headquartered. Lagos is also the major information communications and telecommunications hub of West Africa and potentially the biggest ICT market on the continent. Lagos is developing a 24-hour economy. A new report by the National Bureau of Statistics has listed Lagos as the most economically vibrant state in the country after it recorded over 398 billion naira as internally generated revenue last year. The figure, according to the Bureau, was equivalent to the IGR recorded by a combined 26 states in the country in 2019. It is therefore no surprise that most of the biggest contributors to the Tertiary Education Trust Fund through 2% education tax from assessable profits of all registered companies in Nigeria are headquartered in Lagos. It was a colorful event as government officials, captains of industry, seasoned academics, and other notable dignitaries converged on the Lagos Continental, venue of the third edition of the TETFund Taxpayers Forum. The event, which kicked off at 11 a.m. on the 12th of August 2021, was organized to recognize and honor selected taxpayers that have contributed positively and consistently to education tax collection over the years. It was also a special day to showcase TETFund intervention activities over the years to taxpayers and the public, while creating an avenue for formal interaction with taxpayers and other relevant stakeholders. The taxpayers also had an avenue to convey their experiences regarding tax matters as partnerships with taxpayers were strengthened as a means of mobilizing support for the payment of education tax. The theme of the third edition of the forum was TETFund Intervention, Catalyst for Transforming Tertiary Education in Nigeria. Malam Adamu, the Minister of Education, has always been a passionate supporter of TETFund's activities. He has given full backing to the TETFund Standing Committee on Research and Development and provided a representative from his office to serve on the drafting committee for a bill to establish a National Research and Development Foundation in Nigeria. At the Taxpayers Forum, the minister was represented by the Pro-Chancellor of the University of Benin and co-founder of Echo Hospital, Dr. Sumi Kuku.
Also worth noting that the federal government, through TETFund since inception till 2012, when it held its first edition of this forum, had committed a total sum of 781 billion naira towards the promotion and advancement of the education sector in the country. By the year 2015, when the second edition of the plan came on, a further sum of 470 billion was collected as education tax and promptly deployed for various infrastructural and academic development initiatives in the nation's tertiary education sector. In all, the education tax collection has improved over the years, and this has enabled the fund to contribute more meaningfully as well as tremendously to the development of tertiary education in the country.
In his welcome address, the Executive Secretary of TETFund, Professor Suleiman Elias Bogoro, reeled out the tremendous achievements of the intervention agency since establishment, particularly in infrastructure and training.
Over the years, are channeled into different activities and areas in line with the mandate of the fund as enshrined in the Establishment Act. Infrastructure has been given special attention in this regard because of its decay and collapse across public tertiary institutions in Nigeria at the onset. A careful observation will reveal that the fund has between January to December 2020 alone carried out 16,982 various infrastructure projects across the beneficiary institutions. Considering the projects carried out since inception, based on annual allocation to institutions over the years, that is 2011 to 2021, 10 years. By the way, I'm pleased to inform you, in the next few months, we shall be celebrating formally 10 years of the establishment, the coming into being of TETFund, originally ETF. It is estimated that a total of 152,838 various infrastructure projects have been carried out across the various public tertiary institutions. These projects include construction of lecture theaters, classrooms, hostels, offices, laboratories, road networks, and fencing of institutions in different parts of the country. Tertiary institutions across the country are dotted with TETFund projects, which bear the insignia of the fund, distinctly inscribed on each project. Additionally, we sponsored over 10,000 lecturers in the local PhD program, over 9,000 lecturers in the local master's degree program across the country between 2011 and 2020. The fund has also sponsored well over 4,485 lecturers to overseas institutions for PhD programs and over 3,192 master's degree candidates also overseas across tertiary institutions within the same period. Let me say this, today in Nigeria, TETFund is sponsoring the highest number of higher degree, masters and PhD overseas. The fund has, and let me say this, the indices are out there. I will never forget in the State Polytechnic sometimes last year when I went to inspect, that the rector said, 5 years ago, sir, we had only 3 PhD holders in this polytechnic. Today, we have 73 within the period of 5 years. These are some of the outcomes from our interventions that we are happy to share with you. The fund has further supported over 71,000 lecturers in federal and state colleges of education under its teacher supervision program, popular teaching practice. Am I right? Bringing to a total 98,000 the number of academic staff across public tertiary institutions that have benefited from the academic staff training and development program of the fund. The fund has sponsored an estimated 17,000 plus academic staff across tertiary institutions in the country to foreign conferences. Over 4,000 non-academic staff of public tertiary institutions have also benefited from same sponsorship. Again, over 17,000 academic staff have been sponsored to attend local conferences within the country, while about 28,000 non-academic staff have also been sponsored by the fund to attend local conferences, workshops across beneficiary institutions in the country, all in an effort to build the nation's capacity, skill, and manpower. In all, the fund has sponsored a total of 67,000 plus academic and non-academic staff of public tertiary institutions to local and overseas conferences between 2011 and 2021 this year. Over 2 million books for use in libraries of public tertiary institutions across the nation to equip students and lecturers of institutions with resources required to impart the necessary knowledge required in the 21st century. TETFund also between 2011 and 2020 procured 152,000 e-resources and over 380,000 equipment and furniture distributed to various public tertiary institutions across the country. In the area of academic manuscripts, developing academic manuscripts to textbooks, the fund supported and approved total of 1,362 manuscripts. I can tell you without fear of contradiction, go to our libraries, the central libraries of our tertiary institutions as well as faculty and departmental libraries. Most of the textbooks being used by students, you will find TETFund insignia on them. These are some of the things we are proud to share with all of you.
Professor Bogoro wasn't done yet. He proceeded to unveil the paradigm shift of TETFund towards the institutionalization of research and development into all spheres of the Nigerian economy as a strategy for strengthening the nation's competitiveness.
Research has remained a special intervention line of the fund since it was introduced in 2009. There is no doubt that research remains the most important aspect and instrument of advanced learning and innovation if society and humanity are to make any meaningful progress. Despite the efforts of my predecessors around research, given the level of growth in the country, I took the decision to take research to the next higher level in the country when I made a recommendation and the Board of Trustees graciously approved it. Accordingly, in 2014, I recommended and the Board of Trustees approved the establishment of the Department of R&D and Centers of Excellence in TETFund. It was in line with the idea that Nigeria cannot hope to be competitive if we do not institutionalize R&D. It was thought that research without development will not provide the needed growth that Nigeria as a nation dearly needs. It is in realization of this fact that on 24 September 2020, the Honorable Minister of Education inaugurated the TETFund Standing Committee on Research and Development that comprised of about 164 outstanding Nigerian academics, heads of public and private research institutes, and industry operators that would see to the establishment, as we are expecting, of a National Research and Development Foundation, NRDF for short, as the ultimate outcome. The intention to promote research and innovation in tertiary institutions, research institutions, and industry, as well as the establishment of centers of excellence across tertiary institutions, remains a priority. Within the fund, the National Research Fund, NRF, was set up and 3 billion was provided as seed money in its takeoff in 2011. And in 2015, another 1 billion was added. In 2019, following approval of the Board of Trustees, the NRF allocation became annual. That was revolutionary in the context of these progressive achievements and scale up in respect of research. It became annual. In 2020, following the recommendation of the Board of Trustees through the Honorable Minister of Education, Malam Adamu, President Muhammadu Buhari approved a further 50% increase in allocation to the NRF, being 7.5 billion for that year, and 8.5 billion in the year 2021. Between the year 2012 and 2019, a total of 9 billion was committed to the NRF, with about 457 research projects approved across the country. This is in addition to the institution-based research, IBR as we call it, and support for academic research journals across public tertiary institutions by TETFund. About 2,000 plus projects were approved for the institution-based research between 2011 and 2021, while about 342 academic research journal projects were undertaken within the same period.
The chairman of the TETFund Board of Trustees, Alhaji Kashim Ibrahim Imam, then presented his address. He provided even more details of the impact of TETFund's intervention activities and made a startling announcement on President Muhammadu Buhari's ambitions for education funding in Nigeria.
Most of the major donors are here, but I also want to recognize the fact that there are several key donors that are not here today. We must also recognize those companies. I want to single out in particular the Nigerian LNG for the fact that consistently, persistently, over the years, it has topped our list of donors. The recognition will be done subsequently, but amongst the major donors also are Shell, Chevron, Mobil, MTN. For the telcos, understandably, MTN made the list of first 10. For the banks, GT made the list of first 10. And I want to announce that from next year, we are going to institutionalize an award for the 3 biggest contributors to the fund. And I'm saying so that you compete. I also want to appeal to, in particular, the banks, because if you look at the list of the major donors, it is dominated by the oil majors. I'm appealing to the banks and the telcos to redouble their efforts so that you will also feature prominently on our list of major donors from next year.
The executive chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue, Mohammed M. Nami, was represented at the event by Kabir Abba and explained the critical role that the FIRS plays in the revenue collection on behalf of TETFund. He paints a picture that links the duty of corporate citizens to the success of public universities, polytechnics, and colleges of education.
In 2020, last year, FIRS collected and remitted the sum of 259.5 billion naira to TETFund, which went a long way in supporting development of education at the tertiary level. TETFund will be celebrating its 10-year anniversary by next month, and it suffices to say that over these 10 years, FIRS had assisted TETFund to collect 2.052 trillion naira. I think this is a plus for the FIRS. And at the FIRS, we're implementing a number of initiatives, principally driven by the use of information technology, to fully automate the tax administration process. In particular, is the introduction of the Tax Pro Max solution, which is an online filing, assessment, and payment platform, which we have successfully implemented across our offices. The BOT had made mention of the telecoms. I want to assure you, sir, that the FIRS just a couple of months ago opened offices specifically to take care of telecommunications companies. Those tax offices are open to cater for telecos only. So I can assure you that in the next couple of months, you'll see improvements in, education. Yes, sir. The Tax Pro Max solution, which the service adopted, actually helped us to collect over 650 billion naira in one single month, which translates, of course, to higher TETFund collection, and it is the highest ever single collection recorded in a single month in the history of the FIRS. Trying to say in the next couple of months, by the adoption of this new solution, revenues will continue to increase.
A keynote address was then presented by the guest speaker, Professor Oluwatoyin T. Ogundipe, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Lagos.
There's a need for the companies to pay tax. It's very important. because available data in 2008 confirms that about 2.2 million companies are registered in Nigeria, but only 104 companies are always paid. The harmonization of modalities for granting tax holidays to companies by relevant arms of government, there's need for us to look at that and see how we can help some of these companies. I'll give you one example. During our convocation, we just announced that we need tablets for 3,500 students. And the chairman of the company paid for it. So something like that, in developed countries, they always have rebates. Then there's low response rate from FIRS. I'm happy that FIRS representative already committed themselves. So committed the company that they will make sure they improve on what they are doing now. Then we have discrepancies in the figures received from FIRS headquarters and the field officers. You said you are going to do something about that too.
A series of goodwill messages were presented by the different stakeholders present. A pivotal moment was the address by the chairman of the occasion, the Lagos State Governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, represented by his deputy, Dr. Kadiri Obafemi Hamzat.
This forum encourages us to talk to our friends in the industry to say that the contribution is key. Like Professor Budebe again said, tell me that country where you are doing well when the universities are not doing well. It doesn't exist. In fact, in one of his books, Walter Isaac, I think we all know, it's a Nobel laureate, The Innovators. It clearly shows the role of various institutions in the progress of the United States. As a matter of fact, the United States of America will not be what it is if they didn't start the Academy of Science and the Academy of Engineering, chaired at the time by the Dean of Engineering of MIT. The research that they had is still there. My understanding based on that report is that they only utilize about 46% of what back then. So we all live in a state of dysfunctionality when we don't fund our universities. So all these institutions that you mentioned, Nigerian companies, all the rest, it is in our interest to fund the universities. Funding has been a major topic regarding our tertiary institutions in Nigeria. So adequate funding for infrastructure development and research will definitely have positive impact on the quality of research at this level and will hopefully reduce the incessant industrial conflict and disruption of academic career and public institutions.
And then it was time to recognize some of those who, through their compliance with the rule of law, have formed a solid foundation for the growth of tertiary education in Nigeria. Some of the companies who received awards were exceptional in the level of their compliance. Inspired by the top 5 contributors on the award list, the commitment and resolve of TETFund to contribute in building a prosperous nation remains unshaken. The American economist and Nobel laureate in economics, Professor Gary Becker of the University of Chicago, was quoted as saying, "My work on human capital development began with an effort to calculate both private and social rates of return to men, women, blacks, and other groups from investment in different levels of education." According to Professor Bogoro, this summarizes the essence, reason, and purpose of the Taxpayers Forum hosted by TETFund. With collective cooperation and commitment of all stakeholders to basic responsibilities as responsible citizens and leaders, so much can be achieved for Nigeria. And that is the paradigm shift.